Heyo, it is day 26. Um, I'm in the municipal albergue in Vega del Valcarce. Even though it doesn't look it, it is almost 9 o'clock. The sun is setting there over the drying clothes in the mountains. It's a chill albergue, like I said, municipal one, so it's 10 euros for the night, shower, bed, basic needs, kitchen, and today was a lot. It was a roller coaster of emotions. Last night I was in Cacabelos, and I did not sleep well. I was in a room. It was a nice albergue. It was nice, but there were four. We had a smaller room with four people in a shared bathroom, and sometimes I really like those. In fact, I was like, "Oh, this is great." But then, the guy below me snored like no other, like so loud, like so loud. And because it was the bunk right below me, and because we were in a smaller room, like there was no distance. It was, it was so loud. So I didn't sleep very well. I was up like half the night. Also, people were outside like we were right by some restaurants and stuff, and so people were eating and hanging out and talking till like 10:30, and then there was this dog that was like angry about something. I don't know. Dog was barking loudly for a long time. But it just meant I didn't sleep super well. So I got up early because I hadn't slept. You know, when you don't sleep and then you're up, still having the weird dreams. But got up early, got my stuff together, ate breakfast, and was just dragging. I was tired, couldn't get myself out there. My heel, my Achilles, I think maybe, was aching a lot last night when I was in bed too. So not only was it loud, but I was like, my foot was hurting, my heel was hurting, and I was just a little stressed about the next day. And so then today I started off, was feeling kind of okay, but then I was just dragging, like my foot was hurting, I was slow, and I thought I was making good time, but when I got to the next town that was only like 7 kilometers away, it had taken me a lot longer to get there than I thought it would, and that was a little bit like disheartening. Not disheartening in like a, oh, you're slow kind of way, but more in like a, this is a 26-kilometer day and you still have a lot left and you're already feeling tired kind of way. Like, not like I can't do it, but that I like didn't feel like I could. And also my foot was starting to hurt a little bit more. But I kept going, take it slow and steady, one step at a time, and that was okay. It also was there was a little bit of uphill, but it was mostly straight. We were kind of trailing a highway, or not a highway, but like a road that seemed like a highway, but it wasn't that busy. So it was very straight. It was very like it was actually pretty scenic. There are a lot of these same hills, mountains, but we were just next to the highway. Anyway, that kind of helped because I didn't have to think about it too much. I could just walk, but I was just dragging, and I hadn't really eaten. And when I passed through the first town, I ate a snack, but I didn't eat like a meal, and I probably should have eaten a meal. So by like noon, I had been going for almost 4 hours, and it just like I had so much left, and I was really dragging. And so then I got to this town, Cacabelos, and I was like, all right, in Cacabelos, I'll get some food, and that'll give me the energy I need to keep going. But I'd also talked to a couple people on the way, and we were talking about how if you need to stop, you need to stop. If you need to take a taxi or a bus, that's just what you need to look after your knees or your heels or your feet or whatever the case may be. You got to look out for yourself. And like, I know this mentally, but I hadn't really given myself permission to do that. So I was like, but in my head, like, what if I did? And I had been trying to figure out these next couple of days because I didn't know what the distance was going to be. And I was just feeling really, really down, but also really hungry. And so I got to Cacabelos, and I was like, yes, food. But it's also Monday, and a lot of things are closed on Monday. And so I get there, and I see this place, and I'm all excited, and there's a guy sitting out front, and I was like, I thought he was like eating from the place, and he was like, no, it's closed, but the owner lives across the street, and she said we could sit here. She said I could sit here. She's okay with us sitting here, but it's closed. And I was like, I just like, when he said it was closed, I was just like, I can't even get food or snacks or like, I just started to like tear up. and I just felt so tired and my leg was hurting, and I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna sit down. And I just started to like break down a little bit, and then he offered me clementine that he had, or a mandarin or whatever, and I was like, food. I don't know. I just like tears. It was a lot. I was tired and hungry, and he offered me food, and I was like, thank you so much, sir. You're amazing. So I just sat and ate the 2 mandarins that he gave me, and we chatted for a while. Turns out he's from Nicaragua, and his wife was on her way from the last town. He had also come. We had started in the same place, but his wife wasn't hiking because she had mobility challenges, and so he was hiking, and then she was taking a taxi to meet him, and so he was waiting for her. But he was also waiting for his albergue to open so he could check in, and so it was like after 1 but before 2, and his place didn't open till 2, and so he was like, I'm just sitting here, and I just was like exhausted and sad, and my foot was hurting, and I was hungry, and I just was like tears, and it was a lot. And he was super kind, and we talked, and it turned out he lives in San Francisco and went to Berkeley, and so we talked about Berkeley, and we talked about the Camino and a bunch of stuff. And then he was like, my wife is taking a taxi here, if you want, like, we can, because sometimes when you call a taxi it takes a while, and he was like, you could just use that taxi. Like, since the taxi is coming to bring her here, you could just use, do you want us to ask if we can use that taxi, and then that'll take you to your place? And I was like, yes, thank you, please. But he couldn't get a hold of his wife for a while, so we just chatted, and then just talked for a while. I rested my foot, took off my shoes. We just sat and chatted, and then at 2, his albergue was open. He's like, let's go walk over there, because he was going to check in. So I walked with him to his albergue, and it was funny because as he's an architect, he owns an architectural firm, and then as we were walking over, he was like, do you like Wicked, the musical? I was like, yes I do. So then we talked about musicals for like the rest of the time. He loves Wicked and like Hamilton and Hadestown and In the Heights, and his son's working on like choreography for the second Wicked movie. It's crazy. So we talked about musicals, and both of our favorite songs in Wicked is For Good, as it should be. And we went to his albergue while he checked in, and I was like, I need food. And then not only was there food, but the albergue he was staying in only had a vegetarian menu, and like eating vegetarian here is very tricky. I like eggs, I don't mind eggs and cheese, but like most of it's just like omelets and stuff, and so I don't mind it, but like for a lot of days in a row it becomes a lot. And so you have that option, or you have like a veggie sandwich, or like potatoes with nothing. And so they had this, like, everything was vegetarian, and I had a like burrito type thing that was so good, and a salad and a brownie with ice cream, and I just was like so happy to have this food and a meal that was like filling, and I didn't have to worry about, if there was random like tuna or like ham. And we chatted and talked more about musicals and life and stuff, and he was talking about his children because he's done the Camino with his kids and his wife before. And then we just like ate and chatted until his wife got there, and then then the taxi driver Luis took me to my albergue, which was like 15 minutes drive away, but would have been 2 hours to walk, and it would have just been a lot. And it felt so freeing to just be able to get a ride and not have to stress about it, especially because tomorrow's stretch is supposed to be really intense because there's a really big hill, and I'd already planned to send my bag ahead, which I am gonna do, but to get a little extra rest today for about 3-4 miles. It was the cab ride took me maybe 6 kilometers. It wasn't super far, but it just would have been hurtful on my knee, my leg, my ankle. So then I got here, and there were some folks I knew from other hostels who were here, and I just was able to rest and chat with people. And there were guitars here, and so I had asked the guy who owns it if I could play the guitar. He's like, yeah, that's why they're here. And so after I had chatted with another Pellegrino, I like went in and played the guitar, and he was like, "Oh, keep playing, keep playing." And so I just played, and then there were some other folks who were playing and listening, and we just played music for like a while. And I played, and there was this French guy and a couple of Italian guys, and then the Italian guy picked up the guitar, another guitar, and then he and I played together. And then the hostel owner, he was like, then he played one of his songs and then some other covers, and we just like sat and played guitar for a while. And it was just really nice and beautiful and relaxing. And just a really nice day. What that started out feeling really heavy, with me being tired and dragging, and then just being overwhelmed and hurt, having pain. So I'm very grateful for that. It was a blessing of a day. The guy I ran into, he's from Nicaragua, and the fact that they also like spoke Spanish and were able to help me with the taxi in Spanish was also key, because I was a little bit concerned about the phone call, making the phone call, but it was just a blessing to meet him and to chat with him, and then have his wife and then him help me out with transportation, and then to play music and have nice conversation. And another person and I we booked our lodging tomorrow together, so I hadn't had lodging booked tomorrow, so I was a little concerned about that, but that's all set up now. And then we will, the next couple of days are going to be pretty chill, and then I'll get to Saria, and then we're basically at the last 100 kilometers, which is crazy. But anyway, I know this video is longer, but I just really wanted to talk about today because before I'm going to write some of it down, but before I forget all the details, just a real blessing of people on the Camino that you get to chat with, who show up when you're feeling exhausted and share their food and help you get a taxi and, play music all evening. So it was a good time, and I'm very thankful. And now I'm gonna go to sleep and hopefully sleep better than last night. There are a lot of people in this room, so there will probably be snoring, but I'm hopeful it's better than yesterday. So, all right, good night.